Today in Draw My Life, Red Mist, the lost episode of SpongeBob. Probably many of you have heard of Squidward's suicide, as it has become one of the most popular and well-known creepypastas on social media. The origin of this creepypasta dates back years ago, when a video called Red Mist was uploaded to YouTube. This lost episode was ultimately removed from YouTube because of its gruesome nature. Although the story didn't completely disappear, since it was modified to make the acclaimed Squidward's suicide. And while the stories are quite similar, Red Mist is more gory. The controversial real-life bootleg tape features an unaired episode of the popular Nickelodeon series SpongeBob SquarePants. Like the long-lost and recently found Suicide Mouse tape, Red Mist was created by a now-in-prison Scottish animator. He intended to pass the tape off as the Season 4 premiere episode instead of Fear of a Krabby Patty and featured the death of Squidward. Red Mist begins with Squidward preparing to practice his clarinet in his room as SpongeBob and Patrick play merrily outside. Squidward wraps his mouth around the clarinet and only plays one note before being interrupted by someone knocking on the door. He walks down, opens the door, and discovers that a salesman is in front of him. The salesman, a Scottish fish, asks if he could have a moment of Squidward's time. Squidward tells him that he isn't interested and slams the door in the man's face, walking back to his room. The salesman begins knocking again, and Squidward opens the door furiously. The salesman, looking very upset, tells Squidward that the red mist is coming and walks off, confusing Squidward. Then he walks back to his room and finally starts playing the clarinet. After performing several off-key notes, SpongeBob and Patrick begin laughing outside, interrupting Squidward once again. Squidward walks over to the window and shouts at the two, telling them to shut up as he needs to practice for a concert he'll be soon performing at. SpongeBob and Patrick both apologize tearfully and head back to their respective homes. Squidward, unsure of himself, begins playing his clarinet again, this time uninterrupted. The scene then fades to red over 12 seconds, and perhaps by a glitch, the same scene repeats itself one more time, which is somewhat common in rough animation. However, this time Squidward's eyes have been replaced with new and realistic eyes with red pupils, clearly not completely real, but more real than CGI. The audio is also completely absent from this scene, except for occasional clicks heard on the background. After this scene, we see the same red eyes, but this time Squidward is playing his clarinet at the theater. The frames in the animation skip every 4 seconds, but the sound remains synced. After an unruly performance of the song, he dubbed Red Mist. SpongeBob and Patrick are seen in the crowd booing Squidward, very unusual of them. The scene pans to reveal the same Scottish salesman sitting next to them, also booing, as Squidward walks back to his home with his head in his tentacles. What were the odds that the scene actually showed him walking to his house? Nothing happened in the background for 3 minutes and 55 seconds before abruptly cutting to red for another 20 seconds. Then we see Squidward arrive at his house. A new scene appears, back to the original cartoon eyes, with Squidward sitting in a chair in his room that night, with a blank look on his face for roughly 30 seconds, before starting to sob softly. The sound of slight breeze through the forest is heard in the background. Then the camera begins to mildly zoom in on Squidward's face. He starts sobbing very loudly, as the screen twitches in on itself briefly. The salesman's laugh can also be heard echoing in the background. After another 30 seconds, the screen blurs and twitches violently, and a single frame flashes over the screen. Upon pausing it on that exact frame, we see a real-life photo of a deceased 6-year-old boy laying in the forest in his underwear, whose face has been mangled, his eyes popped, and his stomach cut open with entrails laying beside him. Next to him, the shadow of the cameraman on the floor. After this photograph is shown, it cuts back to Squidward sobbing, much louder than before, with what appears to be blood running from his eyes instead of tears, and the sound of the salesman is still heard. The sound of the wind in the forest is also played at a much louder volume, but with the sound of branches snapping and the screams of the young boy. After 20 more seconds, another single frame appears. This time, an 8-year-old girl in the forest laying on her stomach in a pool of blood, with her back cut open and entrails piled on top. The shadow of the cameraman is also visible. The scene goes back to Squidward, now with the same realistic red eyes from before, completely silent and no longer sobbing. The sound of the forest can no longer be heard. Another 3 seconds later and it cuts back to the sobbing. This time we hear a piercing loud and the sound of the forest. The screams of both the young boy and the young girl can be heard mixed as the song Amazing Grace is played with the clarinet and bagpipes. During this, a few frames in black and white of the boy from the first photograph laying on the woods. Throughout the frames, the hand reaches in and grabs the boy's entrails, as his remaining eye focuses on the man's hand and even blinks once. It cuts back to Squidward again, this time staring at the viewer as the sound of the salesman echoes. "Do it! Do it!" And the red mist is coming, repeatedly. After 40 seconds of this, the camera quickly pans out to reveal Squidward holding a realistic gun, looking as though it were photoshopped into the scene. Squidward lifts the barrel into his mouth and fires, with blood shooting out of his head. On November 7, 2004, after the initial animation of the storyboards was completed in Fife, Scotland, the tape was delivered to the lead animators and sound editors at Paramount Pictures in Hollywood, California, during the middle of the night. The tape got to the editing room, where it was watched by many animators and editors, as well as 2 16-year-old interns. The tape, which was supposed to feature the rough cut of Season 4 premiere, Fear of a Krabby Patty, instead it began with the title card using the name Red Mist. While thrown off at first, the animators continued watching, discovering the tape had been heavily tampered as some sort of dark joke. Days after, 4 animators went sent to the hospital, while 1 editor retired and 1 intern committed suicide. The tape was sent to the police, who determined that it had been made by Andrew Skinner, a disgruntled animator from Scotland. He has now been charged with 9 counts of murder, including the murder of the 2 children seen on the tape. A Sony Betamax tape, also marked Red Mist, was discovered in a warehouse in mid-eastern Canada on August 12, 2016. It was found by Marcus Andrew, who then reported it to Nickelodeon. The tape was also found in Chaz Angus' home, the intern who wrote Squidward's creepypasta. Did you like the story? What do you think? Is it real or is it fake? Leave us your opinion in the comments. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. Until the next one!